Well, we sort of took a gamble on this engine. It had a pretty big hole in the oil pan, so we were just hoping they hadn't ran it too long. And the problem is we test fired it and we even ran it to start with before we were done with everything. And the thing just runs perfect, as you can see in the videos. But unfortunately, we've gotten it out on the highway now, and they must have ran it just long enough to burn the rings. It is using way too much oil to be realistic. It's emptying the dipstick in a few trips to town, so we're gonna have to do something there. And so we've been going over what we want to do. I mean, we obviously picked this engine initially for my brother-in-law because the power steering pump will fit there where the AC compressor won't. And we also just were thinking, this is probably going to need more than 200 horse. So I didn't really think an ALH was going to be an option. But one thing testing out this engine has done is proved that even 140 horse, he's honestly completely satisfied with it even at that. So we've went back and forth on it because it's probably gonna, I mean, we've already pretty much rebuilt the head other than valve guides and seals. And so we might as well rebuild the bottom end as well. But I also started this swap under the assumption we could do it for under $2,000, and rebuilding the bottom end is not going to be in that equation. So we've talked about it and discussed it, and it looks like for him the best option is going to be to pull this engine out and swap it with one of the ALHs I already have as spares. Because I can save him the cost of all the money we've already put into this engine with the cam, and mostly it's the cam that's already gotten him over his budget, and then we can stick an ALH in here and still be able to turn it up to safely 180, 200 horsepower, and he thinks he doesn't need any more than that. He's perfectly happy with it, honestly, as it is right now at 140 horse. So that looks like the route we're going to take. The only downside to that is we are going to have to delete the AC, but of course, looking into it now in 2022, you can get a electric AC pump for under $400. I think it was like under 350, I think. So that's kind of what we're thinking, is we are going to run an electric AC off that and possibly beef up, put the biggest alternator we can from Volkswagen in here. But I think it only needed about 30 or 40 amp to run, and we don't have a whole lot of other accessories in this guy anyway, so it looks like that's going to be a perfect scenario, and we'll definitely gain some firewall clearance. Being we didn't move the engine forward, we won't have that huge tandem pump. It's got to be twice the size of the ALH's vacuum pump. So anyway, that looks like that's what we're going to do. For now, he's going to drive it a little more. I mean, it's pretty fun to drive, so it's worth putting a little oil in. Just make sure he likes it, but it's definitely been a great test to see what this can do. And so we're going to continue on the swap process, but it is a fully swapped truck at this point, so pretty sweet. Next step will be building an ALH harness, which I think what we may end up doing is I'm going to take on rebuilding this thing, and it might go in the Dakota. So I'll just pull this harness out, which I pretty much made plug and play, and we will throw this harness and engine into the Dakota, and we'll build an ALH setup for this. So just to keep you guys posted, you can be watching for that pretty soon.